Hello everybody, welcome back to my gaming review. Today I'm going to make another simple famicom video. I'm going to be talking about how to basically play Super Nintendo games on a Super Famicom system. So this mod is really easy to do. Basically what you gotta do is you gotta do this. You gotta take out the screws and you have to use basically a game bit screwdriver. So if I want to play my Super Nintendo Mrs. Pac-Man game on my Super Famicom, I gotta put the Mrs. Pac-Man Super Nintendo game on my Super Famicom cassette. And then I have to switch the boards out so that this game works on this system. So because I like the Super Famicom more than the Super Nintendo, because I like it more than my Super Nintendo systems, and because the Super Famicom is awesome looking, I prefer it over the Super Nintendo. This is pretty much how I play my Super Nintendo games on a Super Famicom system. And it's actually really easy to do this. You don't really need to... It's just not like a big deal. It's not something that's really difficult. Actually, I've done this before, actually. And this is actually the game Spectre. So I actually... removed the cartridge from this one. It was actually Galaxy Wars, and I actually put in Spectre, which is this first-person tank game. So I've actually done this before. Now you might be asking yourselves, why in the world would somebody do this to those Super Famicom and Super Nintendo cartridges, and why would you, why not just use a Super Nintendo for Super Nintendo games and a Super Famicom only with Super Famicom games? Well, it's because if you live in Japan, or if you only have a Super Famicom, but you don't want to buy a Super Nintendo, you can always just basically buy this case, pop Super Nintendo games in this casing right here, and plug them in. Also, if you don't want to play games in Japanese, like Mario Bros. Or other games, this is also a really good trick to do, a really good thing to do, because if you do this, obviously, if it's the Super Nintendo games, they're all going to be in English. So that's the other reason why it is a good thing to do. So, yeah, it's not really too big of a deal. And obviously, it's not really illegal. I mean, I bought these games, and I don't really think Nintendo would make a big deal out of it. Because, again, the Super Famicom's an old system. And again, these are my games that I own, Now, I guess there is some caution to be had. You must make sure that you don't damage your games. Obviously, you don't want to damage your games and your systems, but you want to make sure that you're careful, because these games have clips inside. So as you can see, right, the clips are up here for the Super Nintendo cartridge game, and for the Super Famicom game, the cassette game, the clips are in the back right there, as you can see. So you gotta be very, very gentle when doing this, because again, you don't want to damage your games. So as you can see, here is the clips on the Super Famicom cassette. I actually really like how these are called cassettes. In America, these are called cartridges, but in Japan, they're called cassettes. Just a fun fact for everybody. So now what you do is you have your cartridges. This is Super Nintendo, this is Super Famicom. And all you gotta do to play your Super Nintendo games on your Super Famicom is you basically change these out. So it's an easy trick to do. Doesn't really require much, and you gotta just line it up perfectly. Now we have Mrs. Pac-Man in my Super Famicom cassette. Now all we gotta do is try to put this baby back on there. I just want to show people this video because if you do buy a Japanese Super Famicom, but you want to play your Super Nintendo games, this is basically how you can do it. So if you prefer this system and the look of it over the Super Nintendo, I'm showing basically what you can do and how to modify your system to play American Super Nintendo games. Let me put the phone down because this is kind of tricky to do. Gotta try to get the clips in and not damage my game. And we got it. Okay. So now we got it. So now we have Mrs. Pac-Man inside the casing all we gotta do now is plug these right back into the cartridge, the cassette. And there we go. So now we have Mrs. Pac-Man that will now work on the Super Famicom. And you can try this at home. If you have a Super Nintendo and a Super Famicom console, and if you want to try to switch your games so that they work on different systems, it's actually a very easy process to do. And again, this is how easy it is to actually modify a Super Famicom to play your Super Nintendo games. So now all we gotta do is press the eject button, take this game out. We now pop this game into the Super Famicom game system. And now we have Mrs. Pac-Man for the Super Famicom. And now we can actually play Top Racer for the Super Famicom on a Super Nintendo because we did the board swap. So anyway, that is just a tutorial video on how to play American Super Nintendo games on your Super Famicom console. Now, if you're somebody who enjoys Super Nintendo games, but you want to buy a Super Famicom, now you can actually enjoy the Super Famicom and enjoy your Super Nintendo games. Again, this is a very easy process to do. You don't have to do this because there's other ways to, play Super Nintendo games. You can just play a Super Nintendo game on a Super Nintendo system. You can also just modify a American Super Nintendo to play Super Famicom games. But if you like the Nintendo Super Famicom, if you like the Japanese Super Nintendo, then this is the best way to play your American games on your Japanese Super Famicom. And again, it's very easy. You just gotta take these screws off, and then once you take the screws off, you swap the boards out, and there you go. It's a very easy process, it's not too bad, and this is actually what I do to play my Super Famicom. Obviously, I don't do this all the time, but if I want to play, Super Mario from the Super Nintendo console, I just plug in the game to a Super Famicom cassette, and I play it that way. Very easy, very straightforward process. I just showed you the process of doing this, and I'm not really going to show you the system on because it does work. You can actually test this for yourself if you do not believe me, or there's other videos out there on people showing gameplay of the Super Nintendo games working on the Super Famicom. But again, very easy, very straightforward. It's not really that hard to modify a Super Famicom. You can modify a Super Nintendo, you can modify a Super Famicom. These are very easy consoles, it's not like it is nowadays when you try to modify systems. Like, you can't play an Xbox game on a PlayStation. You can't play Halo on PlayStation, right? But, with these systems, you can just easily swap out the games and play whatever you want on the Super Nintendo plus the Super Famicom. But anyway, I'm going to end the video. This is just my quick tutorial video on how to play Super Nintendo games on a Super Famicom system. I wanted to make this video because I'm not sure if many people know about this. Or maybe people do, but again, if you have a Super Nintendo collection of games, but you want to have this system, really all you gotta do is buy some Super Famicom games, and if you want to play the American Super Nintendo games on your Super Famicom, again, it's very easy. Yes, you will have to do this every single time. So if I want to play Top Racer on its actual, cassette, I have to actually swap the boards out, put Mrs. Pac-Man back in this case, and then do that, which is kind of annoying to do. But it's not really a big deal, because I've done this multiple times, and if you have enough of these cases, I think you can actually buy just these cases themselves. But again, you can keep your Super Nintendo collection for your Super Famicom, and it's a very simple way of playing really all your games. My Super Famicom plays these plus plays these, so it just requires this tool right here, which this is a game bit. I believe this one is actually for the game console itself, and then this one is for the cassettes and the cartridges. But anyway, I'm in the video. It's already going on 10 minutes. I just wanted to do a quick video on basically playing Super Nintendo games on a Super Famicom, which, might I say, this console looks so nice. Also, technically, this is the original Super Famicom, because the Super Famicom came first before the Super Nintendo. So if you want to play the original, Super Nintendo, which is the Super Famicom, you should probably buy one of these if you want the original, because, technically, America and Europe, when they got the Super Nintendo, it was after the launch of the Super Famicom. Like, this already came out, and was already out for, like, a year, which is the other thing that's cool about the system is, I like it because it's, like, it's the first one that they made, and it just looks really awesome. It looks cool, looks nice, has an awesome logo. Anyway, I'm going to end the video, so hope everyone enjoyed the video. Leave a like, comment down below, I can't talk correctly, comment down below what you think about the board swapping and playing Super Nintendo games on the Super Famicom, and tell me if you own a Super Nintendo or Super Famicom system. But anyway, peace out everyone, hope you enjoyed the video, and bye.